The Cobra and Crane actually looks like the weird things that Vehek throws out, or the Grenier throw out on the planes, with a stick to hit them with. Doesn't look all that impressive, needs argon crystals, rubido, plastids, nanospores to build, but luckily the blueprint is in the market. All of them were for this. It's Mastery rank 10 though, which can be its pretty much only real letdown, possibly the 100 damage as well. Because the closest thing to it, the Akenbrunt, is not supposed to be an axe. Well, no, it is. Is it? Or is that a skin? No, it's not. I actually thought one of this thing was like a hammer, but it's not. But you can see, damage-wise, it has twice the damage. This does a total of 50. The Cobra and Crane does 100 and has a higher attack speed. The Silver of Ages, Silver and Ages, not Silver of, that only has 35 but does have a higher attack speed, whereas its Prime version, yeah, 120. Hands down, probably better than this when it comes to damage, has more crit multiplier, less status though. Then there's the login reward, the Sigma and Octantis. I loved this thing. It was my main melee weapon for the longest of times. I can't remember what I actually stopped using this for. I think I actually stopped using this for the Gram Prime. Yeah. So that's how it's recently I've stopped using this. So this thing should, in theory, be pretty decent, apart from the fact that it comes with no polarities whatsoever on it, apart from the one in the stance, which, well, they're all V polarities because there's two mods. There's 11th Storm and Final Harbinger, and they're both Vs. I'm gonna go for that one because it's harder to find. And even if you do put Fury on this, it's only gonna take it to a 1.19. Prime Fury will take it to a 1.42 attack speed. This thing will fairly easily go to 100% status using maybe 3 of the dual stat mods. But of course, really you want to be running Weeping Wounds with this, and maybe even Condition Overload if you do go for them 4 dual elemental and status chance mods, because you're going to be running 2 different types of elemental damage on this, so could be really good. I mean, this thing does 90 impact and 10 puncture, so you're just adding elements to it, and the best thing about that is that will still go up to a pretty decent number, but 100% status, you don't actually need Weeping Wounds on this. Would not actually run Weeping Wounds now I think about it, because if you go for the 4 dual stat mods, they're only 7 points each. You could then keep the Prime Fury on there, which is of course a 14 point. Primed Pressure Point is also a 14, so put 2 Vs on for those, so they're all 7s. You have a lot of space left for Condition Overload and whatever else you decide to put in this. It is actually one of those weapons, because status based weapons are kind of easy to build. Well, Condition Overload mixed with those 4 elemental mods, giving it 100% status chance, and then Condition Overload for the 2 elemental types, adding more damage by that. Really, this thing is, I'm fighting the urge to put something like Spoiled Strike in, which will add 100% damage, taking the elemental that I had on this from 318 to 438. It even takes up the puncture and the impact, but it does take a lot away from the attack speed. I mean, even with Prime Fury in there, it's still going to have a 1.24 attack speed, so that is technically still a good attack speed for this, but it all depends on how you really want to mod this. You can do it whatever way you really want. You could also go as far as putting some of those smite mods into that mod slot, because obviously adding the 30% extra damage to whatever enemy type you're going up against would work pretty well. But it's the way that this thing is used that is well, not weird, it's just the same as every other one, really. And why is this thing so weird to use? Well, turns out what this is a Mastery Rank 10 version of the Sigma Octantis. The login reward weapon has been turned into a normal weapon because you can throw this just like you could that one, being the only one that you could actually throw. I even tried changing the stance and it just felt like a cheap knockoff of the Sigma and Octantis, which it really shouldn't, because this thing is actually not that bad. It has this first strike in a combo will render the foe unconscious. It will actually knock out enemies. That is why I didn't bother mentioning things like body count earlier, because you don't want the big combos with this. You want the small ones when you hit them and knock them out. This thing will actually be quite a good melee weapon for stealth missions and the such, but I don't know, there was just something about it. If you don't have the Sigma Octantis, this thing is great, because none of the other shields kind of work like this. The Sigma Octantis was the first that allowed you to throw the shield. Though, with that said, before people go to the comments, I'm probably too late, they already have. For those who have, you should have waited. Some of the stances do allow you to throw the weapon or the shield. I think it's the shield that you actually end up throwing through the combos. This is the jump into the air and throw it, which is why I like the Sigma Octantis. And because that was the first one to allow you to throw it, this to me just felt sadly like a cheap knockoff. And that was just simply the end of this weapon for me. The fact that, okay, it's a good thing. The fact that you can throw it allows you to knock out enemies at range. It makes a lot of sense. The fact that it uses pretty much the same kind of thing as the login reward weapon, it's better than that. It has more damage than it. It's okay, it's got a slower attack speed, but it is a better weapon than the Sigma Octantis is because of how much damage it does. But the fact that it's a knockoff, it's a better version, but it's a knockoff of a weapon that should be better. The Sigma Octantis should be better than this because it's harder to get. And this was not my intent coming into making this video. I was using it, I was thoroughly enjoying it, and then it hit me that it's just a copycat, and it really isn't. The Cobra and Crane is actually a pretty good melee weapon. It, with the possibility of having a 1.42 attack speed, 100% status, it does more damage than any of the other shield and sword style weapons, so it is definitely the best of the weapon type. But I just wish that you didn't have to throw it. I spent ages with a weapon that did that and took it off because I got sick of not being able to use the ground pound. Yes, it's good for certain missions, but the rest of the time I'm just not going to use this because, yeah, the throwing of the shield is good and all, but if I wanted to throw a melee weapon, the glaive exists.